Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. I'm Rob Pritchard and I hope you've had a wonderful week so far. So coming up this evening, the fastest newcomer in TT history has confirmed he won't be taking part in the races in 2023, and we hear about why. In football, the exciting top of the table clashes across the Manx leagues continue, and FC Isle of Man hope to keep up their recent good form at the Bowl tomorrow night. In rugby, two more tough trips across the water beckon for two of the island sides, with the Manx Shield in action locally as well. And in hockey, it's crunch time in the mixed cup competitions, with the semi-finals taking place on Saturday. That is all to come this evening. Well, we'll start with the TT, and the fastest newcomer in the race's history has confirmed he won't be taking part in the races in 2023. After making a big impression in his debut this year, Glenn Irwin told me in the past hour why he's decided not to attend next year.
You know, I've always said that British Superbikes is, not that I've always said, the fact is British Superbikes is my bread and butter. It's where I've made my name. That's kind of opened doors to come and take on events like Northwest 200, like Isle of Man TT, like Macau. And the short and simple is that I made a really attractive offer in terms of machinery and equipment for next year, to join the most successful team in PBM Motorsport. And I think that gives me the best chance to achieve my goal of becoming British Superbike champion. The other way of looking at it is I'm a father of very soon to be three, as in that could be today, tomorrow. And as a father of three, it's probably wrong that I do these events. And it's not often that we get to think as a father as such. We always think very much racing focus, and we make our decisions in that way. But having the two tickets in front of me, I can go down this route where essentially, it keeps me away from the TT for a couple of years, if that's what it may be. And that's probably the best thing for my kids. They don't know it right now, but when they grow up, they will appreciate that.
Could you see yourself possibly coming back to TT in future if circumstances allow?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm already looking at it in different ways. Connor Cummins just done his fastest ever lap around the TT course after a 2-year break. So I feel we've laid our foundations. This is not a retirement whatsoever, but right now it's so hard for me to tell you what the future holds, other than I do hope to be the British Superbike champion next year.
Glenn Irwin on his decision not to be taking part in 2023 TT. We wish him all the very best. Let's move on to football now, and the exciting battles across the divisions so far in the Manx Leagues are going to continue this weekend after weather heavily disrupted games last weekend. I think we've got all fingers crossed, and I'm sure there are several fingers crossed on the other side of the desk from me, with Tony Mepham, who can take a look at this weekend's fixtures. Tony, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Rob. Yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle at the moment, isn't it? We never like to lose near enough a full programme last week. We only had the two games on, but hopefully tomorrow it's not looking good. And speaking to one or two people today of looking after good pitches, saying that they're a little bit wet, so it's not looking good. And the one that I'm concentrating on is the Decart Railway Cup. That one's played on Boxing Day, and it's usually at the halfway stage of the season. And when you look at one of the clubs at the moment has only played 4. Okay, they've got 4 league games to get in before the semi-finals are due, and we can always sort of switch it round a little bit. And it also depends how the results go, Rob, but at the moment it's a bit of a problem that we're trying to deal with.
Well, let's hope it all works out. Let's take a look to Saturday then. All games now kicking off at 2 o'clock instead of 2:30, and we have 6 games in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Yeah,
we'll be interested to see how many people get caught out tomorrow, Rob, with this 2 o'clock kick-off, because it seems to happen the first week and then they get used to it. But 6 games, and Laxey against Peel, this is going to be a right duel. Laxey have picked up of late, got some good results going together. They've got a strong squad for tomorrow. I've seen the potential squad. We'll wait and see what actually makes the field of play at 2 o'clock. But Peel, top of the league, and it's just a shame last week or the week before I should say, with just the way things have gone a little bit for clubs. with not having enough players. And Peel, I know they would have preferred to have played the game against the Georges, but it couldn't happen. But I think Peel will just take the points away from Laxey. Douglas High School All Boys against Russian. Again, it's down to the squad, isn't it? Because you saw when Mikey Williams and Fura Davies come back in how strong they were. But those two guys sort of probably back in the FC Isle of Man selection process. So we'll wait and see how it happens in that one. But All Boys are going to find that one really tough. Moran against St John's. St John's without their talisman Dean Leese, if he doesn't play, and he's a real threat in front, but they've still got a strong defence in Sam Ingham and also Will Penn Hulrich, so I'll just go for St John's to win that. Onken against Douglas Royal. Onken have been impressive in their first season back in, or first season in the Premier League, because they're back in, if you like, the top flight, but Douglas Royal still got some good players there, so I'd expect Douglas Royal just to sneak that. Corinthians and Union Mills could be a right humdinger, and it's a while since you've said that, because Corinthians have been really strong, and Union Mills, to be fair, I wouldn't say have come from nowhere, Rob, but the players that they've got there are really good players, and I think Paul Garver's doing a terrific job to get the best out of them, and it'll be interesting where this one goes. Corinthians have got one or two sort of players that have been injured, should be back in there, but again, it just depends how they've coped today with training. And Ramsey against Ayr, you've just got to go for Ayr just to win it. I just think for whatever reason Ramsey are just off the pace at the moment. We're dropping a lot of points.
Well, Peel at the top on 16 points, and St John's on 15, and then both Ayr United and Union Mills on 13. But one you did point out just very quickly before we move on, Corinthians, they've only played 4 games. The only undefeated side in the league at the moment, I believe, is the fact that if they manage to pick up points in those games in hand, we could have another horse in the race at the top, couldn't we?
Well, yeah, there is, and there's a few of the players that play for FC Isle of Man have had long-term injuries who are now back in training, and whether they're selected over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll wait and see. But there's some real big games for Corinthians, and if they do sort of get all the points, great. But look at the one they played against the league leaders, Peel. They drew that one, so they're there or thereabouts with some good young players in there. Carl Presley's one of them. Ashton Canson's been superb, but yeah, fingers crossed that we get some football on tomorrow, Rob, because I enjoyed it, watching St Mary's and stuff, but you just want to see the top teams sort of getting qualified so we can get this Railway Cup on. Absolutely. Let's quickly move on then. 4 games in DPS Limited Division 2 this weekend, including second versus third. Yeah, it's a belter, this one. And Castletown against Michael. Castletown, as I've said to you previously, just want to see where all these goal scorers, how they're going to fit in. They've got 5, as far as I'm concerned, centre forwards, and good centre forward, so I think Gary Sansby's got a bit of a problem to make it work, and we'll see how it goes. But against Michael, really impressed, and it'd be nice to know from the Michael faithful that's as good a Michael side as I've seen when I watched them play against St Mary's. Foxdale against Douglas Athletic. Foxdale's pitch must be in doubt. I know the clubs have been talking to each other to see if maybe can move it, but looking at the league table doesn't lie, and I think Foxdale will have a win in that. Braddon against Jims, I go for Braddon. They're getting stronger and stronger, playing some good football, so I can see them taking the points. And Governors Athletic against D&D is a game that Governors might be able to sneak something out of it, but I just think Douglas and District will be too strong for them. Very well, let's take a look at the combination leagues, and it's a packed schedule. In Canada Life, Combi 1, 6 games there. Yeah, there is 6 games, and Peel right up the top of the table against Russian. They are competing with against Laxey, so I'm going to go for Peel to win. Russian against Old Boys, it's near enough top against bottom. You'd have to go for Russian to win that. St John's against Moran. I think St John's, even though they've got the Combination 2 trophy in their cabinet, they're going for the Combi 1 trophy now, and okay, I think they'll win this one, but I think Peel and Russian are just too strong to take that league away from them. Douglas Royal against Onken, close battle. I'm going to go for Onken just to take that game. Union Mills against Corinthians, that should be another good game, but I know Corinthians are quite strong in this one. Again, 1 or 2 players coming back from injury. And Ayr against Ramsey. I just think Ayr might just be able to sneak that. Very well, and then we've got 4 games in DPS Limited Combi 2. Yeah, Pulrose against Colby. I'm not too sure of the team that Colby have got, because I know 1 or 2 players I think played in their last first team game, so they might not be able to play in this one. But Pulrose, watched them recently against St Mary's. They've got good players in there, so they'll make it awkward. Just go for Pulley to win that. Then you've got Michael against Castletown. Going to go for Michael to take the 3 points there. Jim's against Braddon, go for Braddon to win. And Ramsey Youth Centre against Maloo. Maloo had a great start, slipped off a little bit. Ramsey Youth Centre have done okay. I'm going to go for Youthy just to take it.
Very well, those are the games for Saturday, but we have games as well, as usual, on Sunday as well. We have 2 games in the Canada Life Women's League, kicking off at 2 p.m. Well, obviously, Corinthians and Peel, the big one, occurred last weekend. Corinthians coming out on top by 3-0. Peel don't play this weekend, crucially, either.
No, they don't, and they play each other sort of twice this season, because there was talk of, splitting the leagues. You can't split the leagues, the way it's gone, and Corinthians totally deserved it, Rob. They played well, and they took their goals when they needed to. It's always a battle. They're neighbours, aren't they? Douglas Royal against Corinthians. Douglas Royal got younger players in there. I'm not too sure of Corinthians' squad. I think they're fully fit from last week. So if they've got the same unit out, then I can see them. And it's great to see people like Emily Rawlinson, 16 years of age. Erin Snell's in there. I think she's 16, 17. Good players coming through. And in the other game, Castletown against Malou. I know Castletown been in the league a couple of years with the present squad that they've got. But Malou have done well. A lot of hockey players in there. And I just think Malou might just sneak that one.
And as ever, last but certainly not least, we've got 2 games in the Masters football on Sunday. Yeah,
Colby against Laxey. That'll be a good game, because Colby, I've seen their team recently, and it's very, very strong. And I think they're the team to look out for at the top of the table. And, Laxey, again, if they've got their full quota out, they're a good team, but it just depends how they are. Corinthians against Douglas Royal. I'm chuffed to bits. I've got 18 players to pick from at the moment, Rob, so I'm going to have a sleepless night tomorrow to separate that one, but there's always something that crops up on that. But again, Douglas Royal and Corinthians, always a good battle. Douglas Royal have probably edged it over the last 2 or 3 years, but I just think on Sunday, Corinthians can take it.
Very well, those are your Manx football fixtures coming up this weekend. Well, we'll very quickly turn to FC Isle of Man. They'll be looking to continue their recent good form when they host Northwich Victoria in the NWCFL Premier Division tomorrow evening. The Ravens are currently on a run of 3 games unbeaten in all competitions, winning 2 and drawing 1. They currently sit 16th in the league on 17 points. But the Manx signed visitors to the Bowl tomorrow, Northwich Victoria. They've enjoyed a strong campaign in the league so far. Despite defeat in midweek, the Vics sit 6th in the table and 12 points better off than FC Isle of Man, having played 2 games less. FC Isle of Man versus Northwich Victoria takes place at the Bowl this Saturday, kicking off at 6 p.m. And if you're not heading down to the Bowl, we've got you covered on Manx Radio. We'll be providing full live match commentary on Manx Radio AM 1368 and digital. Well, Tony, we've got about 60 seconds here. We don't have any squad news in yet for FC Isle of Man tomorrow, but that was a huge scalp to take last weekend. 2-0 down against an excellent Congleton side at home to come back and win 3-2. Chris Bass talked about the camaraderie being exceptional in the squad at the moment. With Northwich with back-to-back defeats in the league themselves after just a recent slip in form by their standards, FC Isle of Man might go into this with quite a bit of confidence to get something again.
I think they have to, because they played really well. I thought the last game last week, it was absolutely brilliant to watch, Rob, and to be 2-0 down and then to come back like they did. And the talisman, Furo Davies, coming good at the end again, wasn't he? But just right the way through it, Steve Whitley, I know he got man of the match, but I tell you what, you could have picked anybody there for FC Isle of Man last week, because they competed so good. And when you look at people like Jack McVeigh, you've got Charlie Higgins in there, Steve Whitley, got Luke Murray. And as I say, I don't know how close we are to key personnel coming back in. The ones that sort of stood out last season will make them a lot stronger. But, when you look at, Alex Maitland as well, I think he'll be in the team. So it's all looking good. And if they can show that same performance and commitment like they did last week, I think they win it.
We will see. Well, Tony, you're going to have a day tomorrow, aren't you? Another fantastic set of fixtures, and then I'll see you in the commentary booth tomorrow as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're moving on to rugby, and 2 of the Ireland sides are heading back across the water this weekend in their respective divisions. Douglas travel to Bowden on Saturday in the Regional 2 Northwest, and Vagabonds, they face a tough task in the Counties 3 ADM Lancs Cheshire League at table-topping Garstang. There's also one fixture domestically in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield, having originally been 3. 2 have had to be called off this week. Here with more details on the weekend is Dave Christian.
Douglas, first of all, they're away at Bowden. Now, they've had some good fortune at Bowden. They beat them twice last season, home and away, which always gives you a little bit of a boost coming into the match. But this season, things have been going a little bit differently. Bowden have, I think, won 6, lost 2, and are up in 5th place. Douglas, on the other hand, haven't been going so well. They're down at the bottom end of the table, I think 3rd from the bottom. You'd normally expect, with last season's results going the way they did, that Douglas would be able to perhaps go over and pull something out of the bag. here, and they might still do, to be fair. But it looks like Bowden have maybe picked up a couple of players in the closed season, maybe a change in the coaching. Douglas not quite on it so far, at least this season. And while they've been very, very close, they picked up a losing bonus point last week against Birkenhead Park. It's just not quite enough, and they're struggling a little bit at this stage of the season. Much will depend on the squad. I mean, it's looking reasonably strong and pretty much unchanged. They've been waiting the return from injury from Harry Hewson and Seth Waterworth. If work schedules go the right way, Neil Killier and Craig McGee could well be in the mix as well. Owen Carver and Dave Sherwin are unavailable, but Stefan de Beer scored last week. He might get a nod this week too. Much will depend on what Bowden can get out. They had a big win last week. You have to predict if you're going to make one in accordance with the form book, and you're going to expect Douglas to come back without anything from this. So if they can come back with a point or two, maybe pick up a try bonus point or a losing bonus point, I think they'll be pleased with that. But obviously the players, they don't want to go out there to pick up losing bonus points. They go out there to win every week. And just so far this season, it's not quite been going their way. Vagabonds face probably a little bit more of a daunting task away at Garstang. Garstang are unbeaten, played 6-1-6, and Vagabonds will not be looking forward to this game. I wouldn't have thought. They'll be waiting to go away and put in a good performance, but whether or not they're capable of that, I'm not too certain. Vagabonds, it's pretty much unchanged from the forwards. Jack Kane, Matt Rockwell and Mitch Wells coming in the front row. What's encouraging for me is on the bench I'm seeing Matty Jones. Matty Jones, a linchpin of the team for the past few seasons, and Ross Pullman back in at number 8 this week. Ross is a real scavenger for the ball. If he can win ball on the ground, win turnovers and give everybody a little bit of a boost. And travelling away, we've got Cal Donnell. We haven't seen him too much on the road this season. He was pretty outstanding in the game I watched Vagabonds play against New Brighton a few weeks ago, and it's good to see him on the team sheet as well. That game is going to kick off at 1 o'clock at Garstang. There's a little bit of a travelling issue for Vagabonds. Making the flights is going to be pretty tight. Vagabonds slipped into bottom spot in ADM Counties 3 when Old Bedians and Port Sunlight played last week. Sunlight were bottom. They beat Old Bedians. Everybody shuffles up the table a little bit, and Vagabonds dropped down one. So a little bit of work to do for the Vagabond squad. I'm not certain they'll get any joy at Garstang. It should be a solid home win. Domestically, the only game that's surviving at the moment is Castletown against Ramsey's Reds. That's at 2:15 at Paulson Park. The games between Ramsey Blue and Nomads Green at the Murrick and Western Vikings against Eastern Barbarians, they're both postponements. In fact, Western Vikings and Eastern Barbarians has been awarded to Western Vikings. Barbarians conceded that match. Ramsey's Reds should beat Castletown, but Ramsey's struggling a little bit on the injury list. And there's a bit of a makeshift backline. And last season's second team hooker, Neil Hume, is currently on the team sheet at fullback. That'll be his debut at fullback, and I'm sure he's looking forward to that. So I'd imagine Castletown are going to kick the ball a lot. Just to give him a little bit of a test. But other than that, it should be a reasonably straightforward win for Ramsey's Reds. They're currently top of the table, but Southern Nomads Whites have a game in hand, and that could well see them go top. But that game at Paulson Park down there at Castletown kicks off at 2:15.
Manx Radio Sport.
Dave Christian with that report there. And finally this evening in hockey, it's crunch time this weekend in the mixed cup competitions with the semi-finals of the 3 different tournaments taking place tomorrow in the mixed cup, mixed plate and mixed bowl. Among the ties is what looks like an intriguing meeting between the respective leaders of Mixed Division 2 and Mixed Division 3. Well, as ever, I caught up with Ben Cunningham to get his take on what's to come this weekend. We'll start with the mixed cup. 2 fixtures on Saturday. The first at 12:35, and that's Castletown Celts against Vikings A.
Yeah, this one will be a really close game. These two have met in the league, and Vikings A only just got a 3-2 win, so it'd be interesting to see how this one plays out. It might even go to flicks, who knows, but I think it'll be very close, this game.
And Castletown, they've pleasantly surprised you throughout this season, haven't they?
Very pleasantly surprised me. They've been a surprise package, definitely, but when I say a surprise package, a really nice surprise package, and they've been proven to other teams that, we might be Castletown, but we're definitely in for a fight.
And the other game taking place in the Cup this weekend is at 2:05 pushback, and that is Bacchusay against Ramsey.
Yeah, Bacchusay, top of the Premier League against Ramsey, who are down near the bottom there. I think it'll be a Bacchusay win, but don't rule out Ramsey to maybe give Bacchus a run for their money, but I think Bacchus will have this on paper.
Like you say, Ramsey maybe not doing as well as they'd like to in the league, but might this be a little bit of a time to motivate them more with the fact that there's nothing to lose in it because it's a cup competition?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure they'll go full attack out at it and try and maybe pull off a shock win over Bacchus, but I think it'll just be a step too far maybe for them just to get one over Bacchus.
And just a reminder, the cup competition's taking place this weekend, both taking place at the NSC. Then we move on to the mixed plate. This is taking place at QE2, 12:35 pushback. One semi-final because one team does have a bye elsewhere, and the semi-final taking place is Bacchus C, and they take on Castletown Southerners.
Yeah, and the winner of this will play Harlequins A in the final. Bacchus C have had a mixed bag of a season. Castletown Southerners pretty much the same as well. This one will be close, I reckon, but it'll be interesting to see how it really does play out. I mean, all these semi-finals do look really close games, and as we've said before, if it's all level pegging at full time, it goes straight to penalty flicks, and that could be the decider of every game. But it'd be good to see some of them go that far, but I think I'm just going to go for a Bacchus C win here.
And what makes you say that?
Bacchus C are just slightly ahead in this league. Both teams have met in this league, but I think Bacchus C just look the stronger outfit, but Castletown might shock me, who knows.
And then we move on to the mixed bowl, also taking place at QE2, two semi-finals here, and at 11:05 is Castletown Cushags versus Bacchus Colts, and then it's 2:05 Ramsey Ravens versus Valkyries D.
Yeah, the Castletown Cushags v Bacchus Colts game really does look the interesting one in this one. Bacchus Colts are a division below Castletown Cushags, but Castletown Cushags are top of the league in Division 2, and then Bacchus Colts are top of the division in Division 3. So it's a pretty much top of the table clash between Division 2 and Division 3. I think Bacchus Colts might give Castletown Cushags a run for their money, but I think Castletown Cushags look the stronger outfit.
And then in the other one, Ramsey Ravens and Valkyries D at 2:05.
Yeah, these two in the same league as each other. Ramsey Ravens are second in their league, and Valkyries D are third in the league. It'd be a close game, I reckon, but Ramsey Ravens look the stronger outfit, and I think it'll go Ramsey's way, that one.
There is one league fixture this weekend in Mixed Division 2, and that's a 3:35 pushback, also at QE2, and that's Ramsey Rookies versus Viking Z.
Yeah, this one I think will be interesting to see how it plays out. Ramsey Rookies, they've had good results and then they've had some unfortunate results. But then Viking Z have had the same run of form as well. So I think it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. This one, as a league fixture, both teams will definitely be going for it.
And last but certainly not least, 3 games in the Rossborough Mixed Under-15s.
Yep, so the first game in this one is Castletown Derby, and that's Castletown Sharks against Castletown Savers, and that's at Castle Rushen High School. Then 11:05, we have Vikings against Ramsey Rogues and Rascals. I love saying that name. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's such a good name for a team. And that's at the NSC. And then at 3:35, we have Bacchus against Harlequins, and that's at the NSC.
Manx Radio Sport.
Ben Cunningham with that report there. That's all we have time for this evening. Many thanks once again to my guests this week, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. And just a quick reminder regarding FC Isle of Man tomorrow. If you're not heading down to the Bowl to watch their game in the NWCFL Premier Division, we have you covered at Manx Radio with FC Isle of Man versus Northwich Victoria. Full live match commentary from 6 p.m. kickoff on Manx Radio AM 1368 and digital. We'd love to have you along. Well, whatever you're doing with your Friday, have a wonderful time and also have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining us. Chris Kinley's up next, so until next time, it's bye for now.
The Nation Station.